if I don't make 10 grand, I'm not going to be able to pay for my school. And I remember him word for word saying to me, if you don't make more than $10,000 this summer, then I failed you. And after that, I was ready to go, and I did it, and I took that leap of faith, and then it's probably the best decision that I've ever made. So
Welcome to the show. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to spread this around and get your friends to subscribe. We're putting out gold on a weekly basis. And today we are delivering Tyler Shuster, a young guy who has an interesting way of jumping at opportunities and a method to stay positive while doing it. He's going to talk about how and why to make it all fun. And we're going to get into how to commit to the process of mastery and let go of the outcome. Welcome to the show and welcome to the Edge of Excellence. Well, Tyler, thank you for making time for us today to share your wisdom and your insights and all those many, many years you've been around. And I'm looking forward to talking to you. Before we get into your life and before we go way back and dig deep into being a three-sport athlete, being a college football athlete, starting a business at 22 or 23 years old, I got to know what's your definition of excellence?
yeah, first appreciate having me. Been looking forward to it, but yeah, my definition of excellence is finding something that you're truly passionate about, that you love, and mastering it, becoming an expert in that subject, service, skill, and just being able to be committed to the process without being emotionally attached to the outcome.
Committed to the process of mastering it?
Yep.
Okay. And are you excellent just by committing to the process, or are you excellent when you've been through the process?
That's it by doing it. I don't necessarily think that there is always a end goal, but if you do something each and every day to work towards being an expert, being able to master it, then eventually you'll get there.
Well, we're going to have to shout out the late, great Sanjay Kapoor, who brought me to India in 2008 and gave the speech of Karma Yoga, which you've heard before. If you have purity of heart, which I'm assuming if you're listening right now, you have purity of heart, you like to do the right things, you've got good filters. If you have clarity of intent, and there's a difference between being a dreamer and a doer. Clarity means what's your plan, how are you going to get it done. If you have a sincerity of action and you're acting true to your heart and you're acting true to your intention, then you got to let go of the outcome and just enjoy the process. I learned that from Sanjay Kapoor. I carried it with me. Everybody loves that one. It's called Karma Yoga from the Hindu religion, and you've turned it into your definition of excellence. Let go of the outcome and commit to the process of mastery. Well, we need to go back to the start. We got to figure out, what did it take for you to be a leader in your community at the age of, are you 22 or 23?
23.
23. How you ended up being manager of the year at College Works, how you were one of the top 5 producing DMs ever, how you were rookie DM of the year, how come you started a business so early and got financial backing from a $500 million business. We're going to get into all that, but we got to go way back. We got to figure out what life was like in high school and college. So high school, you were playing a couple sports. What was life like? Were you getting good grades? What were you doing?
Yeah, high school was a pretty big whirlwind, I would say. All growing up, I went to Andover. That's where I grew up, Andover, Minnesota, and went there through elementary and through middle school. And I was always a open enroll student, and then didn't get into that same high school where I went to with like all my childhood friends growing up, and transferred to high school called Anoka High School, where my mom was actually a teacher there. So she had a close eye on me all the time. So I was always getting good grades and pretty involved with everything. Sports was really big for me. Played football, baseball, hockey, all growing up. And high school, I was only playing football and hockey. Those were my two main things. And as I get to my sophomore year, I realized football was my big thing. It was my passion, and I knew I wanted to do it in college. And Anoka High School didn't really have the greatest program and all that stuff. So after my high school year or my sophomore year of high school, I ended up transferring again the second time, going to Blaine High School, and then I only played football there and just did schoolwork and football, and also had COVID on top of that, which threw another piece into it. But yeah, I gave it my all, and sports was really my big thing on top of school. And yeah, I was academic all state, and yeah, football player, and then got a scholarship. Went and played college football at the University of Sioux Falls as well.
Okay, so you're one of the lucky ones that had a good set of parents, and I know you have a good set of parents because you talk about them all the time. You go visit them all the time. You make time for them. So shout out to your parents. What's your mom's name?
Melissa,
Shout out to Melissa. And I know your dad hosts a bunch of your College Works buddies in Texas all the time. Why anybody would ever do that, I don't know. But what's your dad's name?
Mark.
Shout out to Melissa and Mark for doing a good job. Did you just say you moved schools twice the first time because your mom didn't trust you and wanted to keep an eye on you because you're a bad kid?
No, that's not what it was.
That's what I heard. Then
I
why
was
the hell did you go to
okay,
the
yeah,
school your mom was working at? Sounds like you were a disaster, no?
maybe a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Why did you
yeah,
transfer schools after your freshman year? Or did you just not go freshman year to where your buddies went?
yeah. I just didn't go my freshman year because I lived like right on the border of
Okay.
like the district lines, and so
Oh,
I always
okay,
open
okay.
enrolled, and then
And so you
yeah, I couldn't get
lucked
in.
out and got to go to school where your mom was. So you got to have like lunches sometimes with your mom. You got to high five your mom. You get to hear all your friends talk about how cool your mom was, right?
Yep, yeah. I always got the perks of getting my lunch heated up and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So
Yeah. I'll tell you, you know this. The greatest thing that ever happened to me, not having kids, not getting married, was my son coming to work in our business. It's so cool to have your kid around and your day to day. So good for her, good for you. You were getting good grades. You were doing three sports. You changed high school to follow your dream. So that's interesting for take home for the listeners. If you got a dream, look in your environment. You may not be in the right environment. You need to make an environmental change to achieve your dream. And you focus on being an academic all star athlete and scholarship for college football, which you took and you went to Sioux Falls, right? Sioux Falls for college.
yep, yeah. I went and played college football in at the University of Sioux Falls in Sioux Falls, South Dakota,
Let me ask you a weird question. What division?
Division 2.
So when you were in high school, did you want to play pro football?
It was always a dream. I'd say just going and playing college football was really the thing that I was most passionate about. I'm a
Okay.
big college football guy. I like watching college more than NFL too. So
So how do you go from being a Division 2 college football athlete to saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to be a professional." How do you let go of that dream? Like, I know I'm not going to be a professional football player because I see them take one hit and I would be crushed into a pile of dust. Because as you know, I break a bone about every 3 months. Currently, I've got a rib broken. How do you let go of that dream, so to speak? And how do you know when to? When you know, I mean, they only take, I don't know how many college athletes a year do they take in the pros? Couple hundred. It's one out of, I know it's one out of 1,700 high school athletes go into the pros. How do you practically let go of, I want to be a pro athlete and focus on, shit, I want to get my professional life together so I can be making well into the six figures when I'm 23 years old, so I can have a multi-million dollar business at 23 years old? How do you let go of that?
yeah, for me it was probably a little bit easier, I would say, than like a lot of people. When I knew I was done, and yeah, I really always used football as a stepping stone in a way. Like I wanted to use it to get my education paid for, get my degree, and build a lot of the good values and discipline, work ethic, the commitment stuff. And I always loved being on a team. That was probably my favorite part of the whole thing. So
Your parents successfully brainwashed you into this positive focus in life. They overrode your friends that were telling you to do all these bad things. They overrode whatever urges you had, and somehow you got focused, mostly due to the great parenting. Somehow you got focused on, I'm going to just use everything. And you said that to me earlier. You were talking about using your opportunities. I asked you before we came on the call, I said, what do you think the key to your success is? And you said, I take advantage of my opportunities. So you took advantage of the opportunity, get your food heated for you, spend some extra time with mom, do some bonding with mom. You took advantage of the opportunity to figure out how to move schools and get yourself into college football. And you got into college football because it was a stepping stone. You learned values, you learned discipline, you learned teamwork, you learned lessons. You actively did it for that, knowing that after 4 years it was going to be done and you were going to have to do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my big goal was never really to be, NFL or anything like that. It was always just kind of use it for, yeah, getting that education and just excelling and propelling myself into the future. And so, yeah, I played there for my first 3 years, and I had a whole bunch of fun. I loved it. Met a bunch of good teammates, and worked really, really hard. Put a ton of time into it, and um, it was actually my going into my third year that Frank Gimo was somebody who I met and ran into the first time I transferred schools, went to Anoka, and became really good friends. And I watched him go through the internship. And we've always talked about our future, starting business, and all those passions. And actually, it was probably 6 games into my junior season. Ended up hurting my ankle pretty bad, and yeah, rehabbed it for weeks, months, and I knew it was time when I didn't really like have the desire, the drive to really want to like get back playing. And then I was like, I'm gonna take this time and I'm gonna finish strong and I'm gonna still continue to use it, finish my education, get my degree, and now it's time to hop into business and kind of make that pivot. So
Okay. Okay. So you're a man of transitions. You transitioned schools, you transitioned from sports to business, you transitioned to a new state. Coincidentally, Frank and me also have great parents. So we're lucky. What would you have done if you had crappy parents? And some people do. Some people don't have the gift that you and I and Frank have of great parents that kind of do almost everything right. I know I've been trying and I haven't done everything right. Maybe I did okay because my kids are doing pretty well too. What would you do if you didn't have that primary source of support?
yeah, that's a really good question. Honestly, I'm not totally sure what I would really do, but I'd like to say that I would still try to do the same thing and stay on a good track, surround myself with good people, whether it's other friends and family friends, and get around a good support system because, like you said, your environment is huge, and I think that is a lot of what shapes everybody into who they are. So,
You got to build it,
um,
right? You got to
yeah,
build it. If you don't have it at home, you got to find it elsewhere. You got to find that mentor. You got to find a teacher, some friends' parents. But we're lucky. So shout out to all of our parents. I just want to get back to college. I know you did the college works thing. We'll talk about that. Nobody cares. They want to learn about non-college work stuff. Um, what else did you do? Because you can't do the college works thing unless you did other things. So you did your sports. We like varsity sports. We like above a 3.0, which is weird. It's not a 3.5. It's not a 3.7 for some reason. 3.0 is the cutoff. We know we like 30 hours a week of work at least, more like 40 or 50. We know that you have to work 3 years or more. Those are kind of the kind of keys to success in college internships and right out of college. What were you doing for other jobs and what were you doing for other extracurricular to kind of shape and learn and stepping stone?
yeah. Throughout high school, it was a lot of training. So I would do my high school like team lifting and conditioning stuff, and then right after that, I would go to my own like private strength and conditioning stuff, probably 4 or 5 times a week throughout high school.
Maybe this
So
is why your mom was worried. Were you like a weird meatheady type person? Because I don't think of you that way.
no, no, I
Were
definitely
you on
wasn't.
roids at any time?
Nope, I
Are
have
you
not.
sure? Okay, okay, keep going. So
Positive.
you're taking roids and you're going to
Yeah.
the gym like 4 times a day. What's that other thing? Drinking GHB shots to make sure you can get through the. I used to have Mr. Universe as a trainer, so I know all. I heard all the tricks from him. So that's what you're doing, and you don't have time to work. Is that what you're going to try to tell me? Don't tell me that.
Well, I didn't have time to work a traditional job, so what
Oh,
I did throughout high school is I did this thing that's called like being a ship chopper. So basically, I'd go to Target and I would deliver like groceries for people who would put their orders in online. And then throughout college, I worked for a moving company in the summer with basically a whole bunch of my teammates. Did the same thing, so we made that fun. And then the second 2 years of college, I did pest control company. So
Whoa. You did sales, hardcore sales.
it wasn't the sales. We were actually the ones that were going out there and spraying for
Oh.
mosquitoes and basically just a whole bunch of labor jobs throughout college. So
So when you were a ship shopper, did you steal steroids from Target and that's how you got your steroid and your weightlifting situation going on? Hey, it's my
yeah.
show, dude. You came onto my show. I can make up all sorts of crap about you if I want. It's more funny. It's better for the listener.
No, if I was taking steroids and looked like this, I'd be pretty
Yeah, yeah, me
disappointed.
too. Me too. You just mentioned something though. So you were a ship shopper because you needed to have flexible hours. You worked for a moving company because you're hardworking. You did the pest control thing, but you did the pest control thing. You didn't sell the pest control thing. And you said that
Yep.
you brought your buddies along and made it fun. And I think you make it fun at work for me. You probably make it fun at home for Melissa and Mark. You make it fun for other people. Why is it important to make work fun? Work is work, but if you make it fun, it doesn't feel like work. Why? How do you do that, and why do you do that?
I think it's just important with whatever you do. You should always try to make it
Okay, you're
positive
having
and
a shitty day, and you got to go out and work with a customer that you don't like, and you got to do something you don't like. How do you make that fun?
I think it all starts with the mind, honestly, and being negative, having like negativity about certain situations, it's never gonna help. So it's just gonna make it, not as fun to go do or not enjoyable. And I just feel like days are too quick, and life's too short to, have a poor attitude and just make things fun and enjoy it. So
You ever catch
yeah,
yourself and like maybe this is a test? This is another one of my stepping stones. Everything's a stepping stone. This is a test to see if I can be positive and make the most out of it. Do you ever think of it that way?
yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, big thing. Like I heard, if you're stuck in traffic, good, you can enjoy the sunshine when you're sitting in your car in traffic. So find a silver lining. That's always huge. And yeah, I just enjoy having a positive impact on people, and I like to surround myself with other positive people. I think that's another thing, kind of building off of your environment is huge. So yeah, it's never fun being around Debbie Downers all the time too. So
Would you say that Frank takes steroids? Are you positive about that?
I'm positive he doesn't.
Okay, okay. I don't know what you guys do in the Midwest. You're all like 7 feet tall. It's the only place I feel short. So each step's a stepping stone. Back to your process thing. Everything's a test, and if you can find the silver lining, sit in the sunshine in traffic, find the positivity, then you're going to get the lessons that you get. And that kind of reminds me of what you said. What did you say? Find a passion, commit to the process of mastery. You're just committed to the process of mastery, positive impact. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's
Dang. You know how
yeah, the way to live
stoked
a
Melissa and
fulfilling
Mark
life.
are? Melissa and Mark are going to love to hear that. So you are committed to learning and mastering positive impact on others. I love that. I see that. I don't bullshit in this show. First of all, if you were a ding dong, I wouldn't have you on the show. Second of all, I mean, I see you doing that, right? I see you bringing that positivity. I've never seen you. You've seen me negative. I've never seen you negative. I've seen you push. I've seen you drive, but always positively. Okay, that's cool. So we can get into the college work stuff. So now you have a long-term vision of doing what sort of business in your life eventually.
Commercial real estate development.
Okay. So you want to find land and create buildings on the land or find real estate that exists and alter the existing real estate to make it better. That's what development means. You develop it into improved place. Then you can either sell it, you can either keep it and rent it out. So that's what you want to do. And you came here and you did the College Works manager and you're a manager of the year, which means you produce how much?
My intern year
Yeah,
or district manager year?
intern year.
Intern year was about $156,000.
156 grand, about a little bit more than double what I produced, and you were the best in the company that year. Then you were rookie district manager there, which means you were the best of all the new district managers, and there was like one other person that beat you out, right? There's like 10 people that have done it many years, and you came in as a rookie, and what, one person beat you or two people beat you? Two.
Three actually.
Three, you were fourth best that year
Yeah, I was
and
pretty close with Mason.
top six of all years. That was a tough year. We need to get that group back here. Oh, we still have
Yeah.
most of that group. That's fantastic. Love to hear that. And then all of a sudden, you move states and you start a College Works division, which is interesting. Why did you do that if you want to be a real estate and land developer?
Honestly, when the opportunity came up, I didn't think about it a whole lot. And I was like, I don't think there's going to be an opportunity better than this at my age at 22, 23 years old. And yeah, truly learning how to go and start a business, like start a division from ground up. That's a pretty unique experience, and get to have all the help from you guys and learn the most that I can. And so I thought that overall, like big picture, long term goals, that was what's gonna get me there and help me do it. So
So it's process of mastering business. You're committed to the process. Takes you to a different state, takes you a different direction. But you saw like I'm gonna go build a business from nothing to $10 million in 5 years. That's probably a good lesson for me to be able to build a building from nothing to $10 million in 5 months.
yeah, yep,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Okay. So let's get into some of your lessons from College Works. And oh, and by the way, most of our guests are well, half the guests are my age or and the other half the guests are between your age and my age, most of them leaning towards my age. Every once in a while, we have the young bucks on, which is you because you're kicking ass and you started a business at 22 years old and you're going to do over $2 million with that business in its first year. That's pretty cool. You're going to have, I don't even know how many employees you're going to have. Probably there's going to be, I mean, over 100 employees. Um,
Yep.
and you're training them, letting them cry on your shoulder, showing them a good time, figuring it all out in a new state with my buddy Darius from the Greatness Machine. Shout out to our sponsors. I've moved one of our sponsors because the previous recording was with the clergyman, but Fortaleza Tequila and our other sponsor, the Greatness Machine, hosted by Darius Miserade. We recommend you listen to the Greatness Machine, and we should get you on that show too, Tyler. But let's talk
Yeah,
about
that'd
some
be
of your
awesome.
lessons. And you mentioned I already talked about it before that taking advantage of opportunities and the leap of faith, and you did it with the high school change, you did it with the weird college works thing. Why is that one of the lessons you want to share with the group? What do you got to tell the listeners?
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's where um you get to work on mastering, all the skills is by taking advantage of your opportunity. And no matter what it is, whether it's school, sports, business, you just go into it and give it your all. I think that's where the real magic happens. And like I could have went and gave the training 3 days a week, through and went and played Division 3 football or whatever. But yeah, I think going and just like doing it to your 100% ability, that's how you're going to get the most that you can out of it. And um, yeah, just be grateful for the opportunities and take advantage of that stuff. So
So
never hear about.
speak to me from your experience. Um, you have an opportunity to let's take it out of college works. You have an opportunity to change schools where you don't know anybody. We did it for college. You had an
Mhm.
opportunity to change locations, don't know anybody, and dive into football. What did you do that other people didn't that shows that you were giving it your all and they weren't so you could get the most out of it and according to your theory they wouldn't. Like what are some things that you did from your experience?
Yeah, I think through high school, a lot of it is doing that extra training. And you know 95% of my teammates, they probably would have just went to the high school lift, strength conditioning, and that stuff, and called it good. But going and doing multiple different workouts or training conditioning stuff, and going to college, taking advantage, getting to all the lifts, all the film sessions. And on top of that, you can easily be the type of person to not show up to class, not get good grades, and maybe not even be eligible. But doing all those things and just having the same vision of like I need to do more instead of saying,
All
hey,
right.
this is good enough.
Okay, so extra training, start the old Jerry Rice, get there first, leave there last, even though you're the best. Study, film, not just practice, the extra mile. So give us some examples of it. College works when you're running your first business, and those people that are from the Midwest and don't do college works, you're running a painting company, you're finding the customers through various marketing forums, you're doing the sales and getting told no a lot, you're hiring the workforce, and some of them are no good, most of them are very good, you're managing them for efficiency. And then some people, the average is what, $103,000, and it ranges from 600 to just under 300 typically, although it's been 360. What does it mean to give it your all in that? Talk to the audience that's in an internship and wants to just do the best, whether it's college works or something else. What were you doing that other people weren't doing that made you manager of the year and them not manager of the year?
So yeah, I think the biggest thing my intern year was, again, I took that same mentality of just gonna outwork everybody, and I definitely wasn't the most talented. I probably had average lead conversion percentage, and I had actually below the company average of sales percentage. And yeah, I was able to still be successful because just by doing sheer volume. And I was going to get the most amount of
Yeah.
leads. I was going to get
If
the most.
you suck and you grind, your results don't suck. If you're awesome and you don't grind, your result sucks. Effort is a great equalizer. Now, the best person working with the most effort is hard to get, but the worst person worth working with the most effort will get better and better and better and better and better and may one day be the best. So you outwork, you put more time in, you more. I love hearing that. I didn't realize you had a low booking rate. So did I. I just did 162 estimates and they did 72. Well, you
Yeah.
lose. I don't. I am going to give you a yellow card. I don't have any yellow cards. My yellow cards are gone, so that's the best I can do. It's a lotto ticket. I won $10, first time I've ever won. You're going to
Congrats.
get a yellow card because the correct answer to the question of what did you do to get ahead in life is not outwork everybody. It's listen to my mom and dad. I listened to Mary, Melissa. I listened to Mark, just like Jake would say. I listened to Matt and Jill. But the second best answer is outworking, so I'll take that. What else? You're in an internship. It's a tough internship. You're at Goldman. You're at College Works. You're at Disney. You got a lot of great people around. You love them. You want them to do well. What else did you do to take advantage of the opportunity and get the most out of it and enjoy the process and make it a stepping stone, like you said?
Yeah, I think being coachable is huge
Mhm.
as well, especially not being, a top performer or top stats guy. It was, hey, I got to learn. And intern year went out and I watched Frank, my district manager, go and book the first training estimate that we did. And I thought it was going to be super easy. I thought it was going to be just a walk in the park and go out my first solo weekend. And I think I went 1 for 8, 1 for 6. And it was really, really bad. And I remember in my Monday meeting right after that weekend, I was like, what do I need to do? Something's got to change. I just don't get it. And took all that coaching and actually had him come back out with me the next weekend. And I sat there, I watched, I learned, listened, and I took exactly what I learned from that weekend into the next. And I think it was after that, I probably averaged $15,000 a weekend in sales after that, every
What do you
single
see other
weekend
people
for the
do?
rest.
You've been a district manager before. You've had the Tyler Shuster call you up and need coaching and they weren't coachable. What do you do different to accept coaching? Is it swallow your pride? Is it and there's something inside me and my son that just triggers when someone's trying to coach us and it's the defensiveness. It's an ego thing. Why do they think I'm not good enough? I have to catch it and go, what the hell am I talking about? Let that go. Let's take the lesson. What do you see that you're doing that other people aren't doing? Why are you successful at this when so many, especially the people that are high achievers, they don't want to hear that they're not doing things perfect?
I think it definitely does have something to do with the ego factor and yeah, you want to be the best at everything. And it's just like that competitive nature, which is, it's good to have to some extent. But again, I think it's just loving the process
It's the
and
humility that you have, I think. You have a humility that helps.
could be, yeah.
You have more humility than I do. And I'm way better off than I was at your age. At your age, I was a complete maniac. But you're humble enough to take the feedback, and you're humble enough to disconnect, and you're also humble enough to take feedback that's total bullshit, which I'm sure I've given you before, and you're like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" And not say anything and argue too. I think there's definitely a humility in your coachability. What were you going to say? I interrupted.
Yeah, I think it's about having the respect too, and just knowing there's always going to be people that they might be better than you, they might know more than you, and just loving the process and every day wanting to be better and have that competitive nature against like not only other people, other competition, but against myself. Like, I want to have a better weekend than I did last weekend. I want to have a better day of or get more results, and so just loving the process and loving the development, within myself that really drives me to, want to learn and give that effort. Just grow overall.
Yeah, because the process of mastery doesn't happen in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. It's 10, 15, 20 years. Someone was asking me, I was at Jake's birthday, and they're like, hey, because everybody found out I'm like the greatest skier that ever skied this earth. And they said to me, how do you get that good? And I said, well, you got to go 20 days in a row. Most people go skiing like 2 days and then 3 days and then 2 days, and that's their season. Or they go 3, 1, 1, and that's their season. You got to go 20, 30 days in a row because it takes 10 days just to get where you were last year. You got to go do more reps. You got to crank it out more. So that's you're cranking it out more with a positive attitude, taking the opportunity, remaining humble so you're a coachable, and spending time, investing time in the 10, 15, 20 years of 20, 30 days in a row practicing for mastery. What's been your biggest business obstacle? You're only 23, so it probably is not going to be that devastating, by the way. Might have felt that way. Well, why don't you tell me what's your biggest obstacle? How did it feel and how did you get over it? And how do you feel about it now?
My biggest obstacle, I think, could even be, right now going and starting a new division. I've, kind of just took that opportunity and ran with it. I remember first gave me the opportunity, brought it up, gave me a couple weeks, and said, "Yeah, we'll talk about it again." About 2 weeks or so, and then yeah, you're like, "You want to go and do this?" And you said, "You'll give me another 2 weeks to think about it." And I said, "I don't even need the 2 weeks. I'm gonna go do it." And
Uh,
that was a pretty big thing of just taking that leap of faith and just knowing right away that that was a good opportunity for me, and kind of jumped into it, not really knowing exactly what I was necessarily getting into, and kind of in that sink or swim mentality position. But I think that's life too, and it's you're never gonna feel totally comfortable going to do something or 100% confident. But again, if you never plant the seed, the crop's not going to grow. So yeah, I think that's probably been my biggest hurdle, which yeah, probably isn't a too big of one, but yeah, again, just looking to take advantage of that opportunity and keep going.
That's pretty interesting what you said. You will never feel totally confident or 100% positive about anything. And there's so many people. What you said was, you'll never feel totally comfortable or 100% positive about anything that you do. If you wait to be 100% positive, you're never going to do it because you'll never be 100% positive. So think about that with getting married. You're not 100% positive when you get married. I planned for my kids. I had to beg for my second kid. You're not 100% positive when you have kids. You're definitely not 100% positive about your job. You're definitely not 100% positive about what you're going to have for dinner tonight. But you got to eat, right? You're never that. So you'll never feel totally comfortable or 100% positive, and you still have to do it. Wow. And some of them are bigger deals like that. I think I was giving you time because we don't normally expand with someone that has been around as long as you are. I still don't understand the conversation because I thought it went the other way around, and I went, all right. I'm glad we did. I did feel, by the way, I felt 100% confident. I'll feel more confident in people than they feel in themselves. Is where you're at now surprising to you? I mean, if you look back 4 years, just go back 4 years, did you think you'd be starting a business?
Absolutely not. No, yeah. Super surprising.
What's different than you expected about starting a business? What surprised you that you didn't think was going to happen when you started the company?
I didn't think I was definitely gonna take it as far. I thought, I'd be an intern and
No, no, not started at College Works. What, just in the
uh
last 4 months,
just in this
5 months?
last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what surprised me? Probably all of the little details, the organization of like the operations side of things. And it's not just go out there and work hard and get all the results and grow this business, but doing it in like the smart way, having everything organized, lined up weeks, months ahead of time, which is something, especially going through college, I was never good at. The
Mhm.
organization and time management, all that good stuff. And yeah, having that's important not only for myself, but managers and interns as well, because now I have a lot of other people relying on me and my teaching or my
Yeah.
training and that stuff. So yeah, just having things prepared ahead of time.
Yeah, well, you were probably pretty good at it, but there's a lot when you're running a whole business and you've got all these employees and they got to be trained and paperworked and all the stuff's got to be there on time for the training and they need permits and all the weird stuff that some people don't see behind the scenes. But we've got a good kind of laid out schedule what you got to do when you're in business, right? Well, I'll ask you one more question, and I'll let you go. When you think back to all the sacrifices you made in your life, there was probably one that stands out where you're like, I remember when I was like wondering if I should do this thing or not. It was really conflicting, and I just did it. And oh my god, I can't even believe I was questioning myself. What sacrifice was that you made that you never regret?
Yeah, there's definitely one that stands out more than any other.
What
And
is it?
yeah, it's going back all the way back to my intern year, doing the internship. And I knew I wanted to do it. I knew football was going to come to an end at some point. And yeah, it was my junior year. I had one semester left of college, and I had a full ride scholarship, getting all my tuition paid for, and that was a really huge opportunity for me. And yeah, doing this internship would mean that I wasn't playing football anymore, and I was giving up that scholarship.
Oh shit. Okay.
And so
Gave up a scholarship. You gave up the sport to do this.
I did. And
Wow.
I remember in my conversation with Frank, I was like, I'm just super nervous. I got to
Yeah.
pay this semester off. And, if I don't make 10 grand, I'm not going to be able to pay for my school. And I remember him word for word saying to me, if you don't make more than $10,000 this summer, then I failed you. And, after that, I was ready to go, and I did it, and I took that leap of faith, and then
Hmm.
it's probably the best decision that I've ever made. So
That's way bigger than mine. Mine's I had to skip going to Spain with my family on spring break to do this program. You had to give up your sport and your scholarship. You went on the regret. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for sharing your story. Great episode, Tyler. Oh, and by the way, you can find Tyler on LinkedIn. Just looked up Tyler Shuster on LinkedIn. You can also find him on Instagram, but he's got a private account, so you can't check it out. Thanks for coming on the show today, Tyler.
yeah, thanks for having me.